If it had a mind, you could reason with it. If it had a body, you could shoot it. If it had a heart, you could kill it. Now, man is no longer the supreme being on this planet. The Blob.
In a tiny California town, high school students Brian, Meg, and Paul discover a strange gelatinous substance that melts the flesh of any living creature in its path. The deadly substance gets into the town's sewer system, where it begins growing uncontrollably, occasionally emerging to feast on unsuspecting townspeople. Now the teens must find a way to stop the Blob's rampage, while a military cleanup crew sent to eliminate the menace may end up doing more harm than good. Screenwriter Frank Darabont first met director Chuck Russell in 1981 while working as a production assistant on the film Hell Night. Before working together on The Blob, the two also collaborated on the script for A Nightmare on Elm Street 3: Dream Warriors. Production began on January 11th with a cast and crew of approximately 150 staying at a travel lodge in Abbeville, Louisiana. Due to a large amount of night shooting, the cast often slept during the day. Chad McQueen, son of the director of the original Blob, Steve McQueen, was offered the part of Brian Flagg, but turned it down for two reasons. One, he disliked the script, and two, his strict policy of never performing in any production based on or inspired by his father's work. One funny note to mention is that the bit with Scott, who bought protection at the pharmacy only to discover the girl's father was the pharmacist, was based on a real event from Chuck Russell's high school years. According to an interview on the Australian Blu-ray, Chuck Russell deliberately stole a page from the Hitchcock playbook by killing the character that everyone would identify as the hero halfway into the movie. So everyone would go, geez, if he could die, anyone could. In the scene where Paul gets eaten by the Blob, actor Donovan Leitch had to have a whole body cast made of himself for some of the more complex shots. Chuck Russell did not tell actress Shawnee Smith it was really Leitch underneath the Blob until filming on that scene began, so he could get a true look of terror out of her. But the shock value doesn't end there, as this, along with Jaws, is one of the few mainstream horror movies to show a child being killed off. Special effects in the film were handled by Tony Gardner, who designed and created effects for many feature films, including Zombieland, The Addams Family, Seed of Chucky, and many more. In fact, almost half the film's budget went into the special effects. When creating the titular Blob creature, the special effects team used silk bags filled with methyl cellulose, which is both unbelievably slippery and a thickening ingredient for milkshakes, with the team creating what they called a blob quilt. Also, when the Blob was crystallized, it was made from rock salt that's been dyed purple. As horror movies often feature people suffering loss of limb by various means, the genre tends to employ amputees as featured performers. Such was the case with Noble Craig, who briefly appears as a government agent left dismembered by the Blob. Craig was a veteran of the Vietnam War who lost both legs, one arm, and much of his sight in the line of duty. His film career began in the mid-70s, and he took creature roles in Poltergeist 2, Big Trouble in Little China, A Nightmare on Elm Street 5, and Bride of Reanimator. For the last few minutes of screen time near the end of the film, where Reverend Meeker has a scene with fresh burns and another with healed burns, actor Del Close required 5.5 hours of makeup preparation for fresh burns and 7.5 hours for healed burns. When the Blob slithered onto the big screen on August 5th, 1988, 30 years after the original film's release, the creature's slimy rampage did not do so well. Critics were rather mixed with the film, saying that while it was another unneeded remake of a cheesy 50s classic, it still had its gory fun moments. At the box office, however, it went as well as stopping the Blob with bullets. On a budget of $19 million, the film only managed to gross $8.2 million domestically, unfortunately making it a box office bomb and stopping any chances of the film getting an immediate sequel. However, the film's outcome didn't all end bad. It did get 2 Saturn Award nominations for Best Science Fiction and for Best Music, and 4 other random awards. Over the years, the Blob would also receive a cult following, with fans praising the campy tone, the actors, the suspense, and especially the effects. It may have had a bad rap at theaters, but the film eventually found its audience and slid its way into the hearts of horror fans and becoming an 80s classic worth getting engulfed in.